when we add fans or tanks or meter systems to it, when we add one of our systems, say an onboard tank, it'll then have 3/4 inch lines that are tagged red and green. We also do, when we have a tow behind tank, we have them labeled slightly different, which is going to be black, white, blue, and yellow, and those are for the Nova fans. The onboards are still tagged out the same as what you see there as red and green. So again, those are for onboard tanks, seed or fertilizer fans. They hook directly to the tractor remote. All of our fans actually are the same size motor. They're all an 11cc motor, so we are pretty well maxed out at around that 15-16 gallons. So what an actual Pioneer coupler can flow, so 1/2 inch Pioneer coupler can flow, we are still within that actual status. So when we get into a Nova tank, they actually are pretty well maxing out at 14 gallons a minute. So we are seeing high pressures all the way back through to the fans to maintain that. So nice to know that we've got them that close and that we don't have to worry about stepping up in coupler size to make sure we have enough oil flow going to that fan to get enough RPM. So to increase or decrease the actual fan RPM, it is simple. You use the flow control on the tractor and it actually increases and decreases the actual RPM, same as everything else. One other thing that then is important to know is that when we get into onboard or tow behind tanks, they have a fan. Fans all have case drain lines. So at that point, the other thing to note is that when we get into a tank system, our meter motors do return through that same second return. So that line here, you can see, is a second separate line. So it is also 1/2 inch, and it is set up with the open-ended coupler. It must be 0 PSI. And again, what we do highly recommend for the dump line as well. But I want to make sure that you guys know that it must be a free return case drain directly back to tank, and that line must be unrestricted. Now, the thing I really want to encourage and make sure everyone knows is that it's a second separate line. So by no means take and run it throughout the tractor 25 feet of line that's separate to the same 3/8 fitting into the top of the tractor tank. They're 2 1/2 inch lines. They need to have 1/2 inch ability of flow, and they need to return back. So with that, I want to make sure they're not teed together right at the tractor tank, because at that point they're not really separate. So we don't want to have case drains locked in with dump line return, because we said dump line returns can flow an average of 5 gallons a minute, and our sporadic flow is coming off of relief. So we don't want those linked in with case drains, which are low flow, continuous flow. So we don't want those tied together, because we don't want to cause seal trouble on the fan motors or seal trouble on any of the meter motors. So that means second separate line to 2 separate ports on the tank.